talk about one of these. This is from Ozark Trail. I have one that looks exactly like this in my pocket, if I can find it. Even down to the color of the coating on the striker that I got from Harbor Freight for $3. Okay. These are in a lot of people's pockets. A lot of people carry these around. Either because they're out in the woods or because they watch Survivor Man or something like that. He used these to great effect. But if you look online and you look at reviews of these, or you look at where people are talking about these, invariably you'll get a bunch of people that come on and say that these are junk, that they don't work, they can't get a spark from them, they can't make fire with them, yada yada yada. Okay, these are a fantastic tool to have, but you can't just take one of these and throw it in a survival kit, pull it out of the package when the time comes and use it. It won't work. And let me explain to you why. Let's open this package. I purposely bought a brand new one so that I can open it here on camera and you can see and understand what I mean and what I'm talking about. This requires a bit of prep. Mine are already prepped and ready to go. This one needs preparation. Okay, now it's necessary to talk about what this is first, so that you know and understand. I need to first off put my trash away. All right, so you know and understand how this works. This is a block of magnesium, okay? It is a metal that burns super hot. Now, I can't take a lighter to this and catch it on fire. You have to scrape shavings off of this so that you get a large surface area. When you have fine shavings or even coarse shavings of this stuff in with a lot of surface area, it takes a spark really, really fast. And the magnesium burns at 5,500 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so it's incredibly hot. And it's meant specifically for when you have to have a fire. In wet conditions, in cold conditions, or whatever the purpose or the reason, you need fire. Okay, and to achieve that end, you're supposed to take this scraper and scrape off magnesium off the side of this block. Okay, and then you would take, and this is a ferro rod, a ferrocerium rod. There's a groove milled into this magnesium block. Okay, and there's a ferro rod embedded or glued into it. And you are supposed to take this striker, strike the ferro rod, and it will produce sparks. There's a couple of things wrong with that as you get it out of the package. First of all, that is corroding. The magnesium is trying to break down. That's what it looks like to me. I would much rather pay $3 for the Harbor Freight one that doesn't do that than to get one like this in the package the way that it is, but it'll still work. Okay, it's just, Now you might not understand what a ferro rod is. You may have just bought something like this and assumed, well, I'll just, throw that in my pocket, and when I need fire, boom, magic. But it's not. Those of you that are used to ferro rods know that this black coating, a ferro rod is not black. This is an anti-corrosive coating so that the ferro rod doesn't corrode. The striker as well has a plastic coating on it And it's designed so that this doesn't rust, because nobody wants to buy a rusted up product. Okay, so the manufacturers do that to protect their product so it looks good when you buy it. But the thing of it is, and if you're going to use this striker, what you want to do is you want to take that off and hang on to it so that you can put, but if you look, you can tell there's not really even any friction on that, right? So the first thing you need to do is prep this and prep this. You need to remove the coating off this edge. I don't know what they put the sawtooth edge on there for, but don't use it on the ferro rod. If you have to, in an emergency situation and you need fire, you do whatever you have to. Okay, including grabbing a big knife with a sharp 90-degree spine on it, or the back of a folding saw blade, or anything else that's sharp, or the edge of your knife for that matter. If you have to have fire, just do it, you know, back on the back next to the choil and not up at the tip where you want it to be flipping sharp and stay that way. But anyway, we need to clean the plastic off of this, and then we'll use this to scrape this off so that it's ready to throw sparks. What I'm going to do so that I don't lose this is I'm going to put this on this just so I know where it is. So we're going to set that down. And what I've got is a mill bastard file. It's a single cut file. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this, I'm going to set it down. Let me see if I can magnify that a bit closer. Okay, let's try that. Is that on there? Yeah. And I'm just gonna scrape that off. Back up. Let's back up to the... All right. You see how that's starting to shine? I want to scrape that off. At home, I do this at home usually, and I use a vise, but you don't have to have one. This will work. All right, and the best thing that you can do is to do that until you have like a bit of a burr on this edge. I have not achieved that, but I do not think that's going to be an issue. I believe that will work. You see that all of that coating is cleared off that edge. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this edge you see, once the coating was off of this and off of this, it throws sparks pretty good, don't it? All right. So now let's go find some tinder and some fuel and see what we can do about building a fire. The conditions here are slightly wet, but they're drier than I thought they were. We've had rain for like 5 or 6 days off and on. It'll rain for a couple of days and then it'll stop and then it'll rain for a day or so. We've had that kind of weather here off and on for a week and a half. So things are damp. but this area doesn't seem quite as bad, so I may not need anything but the tinder that I find here. But if I do need, I have, if I can get it, a little container that has cotton balls impregnated with Vaseline. Now, supposedly, and I could use that as fire starting material if I needed to, but we're not going to do that because you're likely not to have that with you. This should be prepped and ready in your pocket. But I, most of the time, would not even mess with this magnesium. The reason being, it is incredibly hot and it catches spark really fast, but it burns away really fast. And unless you've got everything perfectly lined up, you're probably not going to get a fire going that way before the magnesium goes out, which is why I have the cotton balls and Vaseline in a very wet situation, in a situation where I need to start a fire. I'm going to choose something that will burn a little bit longer than the magnesium does. Now, I might mix that with the magnesium scrapings to increase my chances of creating that initial flame. But I'm going to have something that burns a little bit longer. So let's go see what we can find. So if I'm looking to start fire, the first thing I need is tinder. In the woods in the northeast, there's a lot of tinder to be found. I mean, look around, okay? Unlike a lot of areas in the world, the Forestry Service might come in and like clear pathways and stuff like that, but they don't clean up. They don't pretty things up. They don't groom or anything. So all of this stuff laying around that you see is growth from throughout the year. It died and it's laying here. And I can just go like this. I don't know if you can see that. So let's drop the camera down so you can. So I can just go here, look for something that might be fairly dry. Okay? If I work that material, that'll make a really nice tinder bundle. If you look around here, there's all kind of dead standing stuff or dead stuff that's laying down. And what I want to do, you can see this is dead, right? I mean, you saw that? You heard that? Okay. So what I want is I want to find the smallest of these that I can possibly find and pick it off. I want to hear that snap. Okay, I want it dry, as dry as I can get. And I said before, around here right now, it's been raining. It's not bad here. This feels a lot drier than I thought it was going to be. But it doesn't take a whole lot of moisture to mess up your day or your evening or whatever it is, wherever you happen to be, and you are in need of a fire. So what we're going to do, we're going to get all these small things. I don't have anything to carry this in, so I'm just going to have to improvise. Like I said, we're not going to build a rip-roaring fire anyway, because I don't make a habit of building fire in the woods just to say, look, I can build fire. Okay, now that's down. There. These are down. I don't see the point in it. I think it can be. I'm not saying that people don't know or understand how to make fire or how to put it out or anything of that sort. I'm just saying that for me, in my opinion, I'm not going to build a big, huge fire if I don't need one. Because I just think when you start looking at, when you look around and you look at this, okay, all this stuff, it's like a tinderbox. And if you're not careful, then you could end up causing a fire that would burn this whole place down. Okay? So if you're going to do something like this, if you have to have a fire, that's all well and good. But if you don't need a fire, you know, I'm just demonstrating how to make one with that magnesium bar and ferro rod striker. Okay? And I don't have to build a big, huge fire. All I have to do is show you that you can get a flame going and get something that will sustain, that you can sustain. With a little bit of work, a little bit of effort, that you can sustain that. And that's it. That's the principles of it. And it's well, once that's well established, that's all I need to do. So, but the thing about fire, listen, you want small stuff. You want really small stuff, like the tinder, like this stuff. You want these smaller little pencil and pencil lead size stuff. And then you want stuff that's bigger. And if I had to, once I reached a certain point with it, okay, then I could start putting on larger pieces of wood. There's all kind of this. See, I don't even need a saw. Okay, I don't need a saw. I don't need an axe. I don't need any of that stuff because there's so much wood around here that I can burn that's just laying around. Some of it's hardwood. Most of it's hardwood because it's an eastern woodland. Okay, there I could get a really nice fire going that I could burn a couple of hours off of just stuff like that. Now, if I'm going to stay here the night, then I'm going to have to find dead wood that I can cut limbs off of that are larger and bigger so that I can sustain a fire all night. That's another story, but the principle of starting it is the same. So now let's go find a place that's suitable to start this fire. Okay, we've got our wood and our tinder, and I found this. This is a fire ring. Someone else has probably been out here, and so they built a fire ring. You might not have anything like this around you, probably not, but since I found it, I'm going to use it. I'm going to take the grill out of the way to start, and I'm going to move this stuff. Now this is going to be damp because, like I said, we've got all that rain. So what I'm going to do, I don't know if I can break that or not. Yeah, no. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay these like this, get out of the way. And I can build the fire on that. These timbers will be a little damp too. We will find out whether or not I'm going to need the cotton balls and Vaseline. Let me adjust the camera a bit. But we'll find out whether I need that. But what I have this tinder here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tinder. Let me move you over this way to where I have everything ready. I have the tinder here. I have the smaller stuff here and somewhat larger stuff. And we're just going to go to this, but then we would start putting larger pieces on as this cart. What you want to do, this stuff might take a spark, but what you actually want to do, I'm going to take some of this, set that over here. Now remember, it might be damp. That might make my stuff wet. So you might want something that you want to carry around in the in his pack to do this on. I did not mess with it, but I should have. But what I'm doing is I'm making this very, as fine as I can get it, because I want this to take a spark as fast as possible. There is moisture in this. I can feel it in my hands, but I do not know if it will be enough to cause issues. So I have some fairly fine stuff. If I wanted to, I could spend a lot more time on that, and probably should. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to build like a little nest. And I'm going to put this stuff in that little nest. I'm going to move this wood over closer to the fire so that it is ready to hand. And I'm going to lay this bundle here. All right, so I have my materials ready to go, right? And I'm going to take this, see if I can start. Now, I see a little bit of smoke coming out of that, but it's not catching. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to set this to the side, and I'm going to take, and this is why I always say bring cotton balls and Vaseline with you. Because if this were a situation where I was in trouble and I had to have fire, then you need to make fire whatever the means are. This is not bushcraft, this is not survival, although in this case it is. This is sportsman. If you're trapped out somewhere, okay, and you need fire, and you flipping need fire. So I'm gonna do that right there. Then with fire, what you want is you want plenty of oxygen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that go, let that catch. And there's plenty of wind to drive that flame, and it will dry out this wood, and that wood will begin to burn. At which point okay. Now, at this point, I could let that burn. I could actually add more. That right there, once the flames started getting hold of that, I could add, like they're doing now, I could add more fire, or more fuel to that fire. Let me adjust that. I could add more fuel to that fire at this point. And continue to build that fire. You see, it's sustained. That fire is not going to go out as long as I keep giving it fuel. Okay? As long as I continue to give that fire fuel, it will burn. Now, I didn't add a bunch of fuel to it because, like I said, I'm not trying to build a big, huge fire, but I could. No problem. The important part is you understand that I put these down to raise that up off of the wet ground. I made sure I found good dry tinder, and then as dry as I could get it, didn't matter. I'm gonna let this just go out. But as dry as I could get that tinder did not matter. There was still enough residual moisture in that it wouldn't take a spark. So I went for the cotton balls with Vaseline and got the fire going. This is how I would build a fire in damp conditions, in wet conditions, in any kind of condition where I thought that I had to have a fire to get through the night or something of that sort. In a situation where my life might depend on that fire, that's what I'm going to do. I don't know if I got all of that on video. It was hard for me to see the screen to know whether I had that centered. It looks like I didn't get it all the way centered, but I think you can see the result. And what I used was that little bitty magnesium bar with a ferrocerium rod in it. I'm gonna put that fire out really, really good now. These things work fantastically. They're, to me, mostly what I use them for is I have a tiny little ferro rod in my pocket at all times. Okay, but if it's dry outside, then that'll start one lickety split. Okay, but if you got any kind of moisture, you might have to use something like cotton balls and Vaseline, or you might have to resort to scraping a bunch of this into that tinder bundle and then sparking it. That would work as well. If you take this, scrape a bunch of that off into that bundle, and then go, hear how when he hits that, oh, you see that? Okay, if you get enough of that in that bundle, that'll burn, and you'll catch that tinder bundle on fire. I just used the cotton balls and Vaseline because that is what I prefer, and I had it with me. And if you have a standard ferro rod or one of these in your pack with you at all times, okay, then you'll have the cotton balls and Vaseline. But if you don't, doesn't matter. This will, if you use the magnesium, it'll light a fire. And that's the deal with that. And the thing of it is these are not useless. They work really, really well. And I always have one with me. As a matter of fact, I have one in my pocket. And this one will probably go in my fire kit in my pack, along with my standard size ferro rod. I have one of these in my photography bag, although I have a SOL Mag Striker, which is a big round billet of magnesium with a larger ferro rod implanted in the top of it and a big orange handle on it. Same concept as this, but bigger in that as well. I will not be going anywhere. I carry one of these. When I get up in the morning, one of these, I'm trying to put it back together, okay? One of these, and there it is. You see how much? This is a Harbor Freight one. It's got the green, okay? It looks like this one, but all of the ones, the Ozark Trails ones, had that crap all over it. I've got a couple of these from Harbor Freight, and I've never seen anything like that. Okay, but I have this, and then I have my keys, and in another pocket I have a small traditional pocket knife. Another thing that you can do is if you have this in your pocket and a lighter with some duct tape or Gorilla Tape on it, I can take some of this tape off and lay it down with the sticky side up, file some magnesium into that, and it won't blow around like it did on that stump. It'll stick to the tape. And when I ignite that, this tape will burn longer and give me opportunity to start a fire the same way I did there with the cotton balls and the Vaseline. But they are not useless. They are absolutely worth having and worth using. You just need to know how to prep them so you can use them. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.